An early and heavy chest the guest has brought in. The guest explains that they found it in Plattsmouth, Nebraska, while on their way to a wedding in Omaha. They stumbled upon a small town and an antique store where they made the purchase. The appraiser describes the chest as a Baroque bureau brisé, likely from southern Germany or northern Italy.
In the 17th century. So it's very early. It's almost 350 years old.
Our guest is surprised and delighted by the age of the chest, exclaiming, "No wonder it spoke to me." The appraiser admires the original brasses on the chest, noting the carved wave motion along the top. Our guest reveals that they initially thought the chest might be firewood with good brasses. Upon opening the chest, they discovered a little desk inside, made of walnut with hand-carved details. The appraiser mentions that a similar piece might sell for around...
We probably would expect to pay around $3,000 for a piece like this.
Wonderful. Well, I'm just delighted to know its age because it stumped me.
It's really built to last.
This heirloom sampler, passed down through generations in the Guest family, held a remarkable story within its threads. The Guest revealed the sampler's creator, Parthenia Wilcox West, the Guest's great-great-great-grandmother, who had stitched the sampler in 1817 at the age of 20. Unlike typical Rhode Island samplers produced by schoolgirls following a set pattern, Parthenia's sampler reflected her own artistic freedom. It deviated from the norm in its use of brown linen instead of white fabric and its inclusion of a majestic federal eagle with a shield. The sampler is further embellished with exquisitely detailed floral arrangements, graceful birds, and a possible self-portrait of Parthenia herself. The exceptional condition of the black thread is unique and rare for samplers of this age. Black thread, often susceptible to deterioration due to the dyes used, remained remarkably intact, suggesting the sampler had been carefully preserved. The Guest confirmed the sampler had indeed been shielded from light for much of its existence, stored away in the family basement until recently.
I have no idea until it got to my father. We saw several samplers on the Roadshow, and one day he said, "Oh, I have some of that in the basement."
Recognizing the sampler's historical significance, artistic merit, and exceptional condition, its retail value
would be $35,000 to $45,000.
Oh my God.
The Guest presented a pottery plaque that had been a wedding gift to her parents and had always been displayed on their wall. The appraiser recognized the item as a Rookwood scenic plaque, highly prized by collectors for their craftsmanship and historical importance. They were adorned using a technique known as vellum. The particular plaque showcased vibrant colors and featured the signature of the artist Charles McLaughlin, who was known for his use of vivid blues and yellows. The appraiser determined the value of this charming piece to be around...
The auction estimate right now would be somewhere between $6,500 and $7,500.
All right. Thank you, and that's wonderful.
Our guest explains that the doll belonged to their grandmother and was purchased by her grandmother. The appraiser examines the doll, noting its maker, Simon and Halbig, from Germany, and highlights the molded hair with a braid detail. The doll is estimated to have been made between 1870 and 1875, and it's noted that the dress and even the boots are original. The appraiser values the doll at between $2,000 to $2,500. The Guest presented a chest from Fort Herod, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, built by his great-grandfather, who was a furniture maker. The appraiser examined the item, which the Guest used as a sugar chest. It had 3 compartments for white cone sugar, brown granulated sugar, and unroasted coffee, reflecting the luxury of these items during that era. The wood used was believed to be cherry, with the secondary wood being tooled poplar, common in the region. The appraiser pointed out construction details, including tapered legs reminiscent of Hepplewhite style. Considering the current interest in Southern furniture, the potential worth was estimated to be around...
that a conservative retail estimate would be about $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
The Guest presented a beaded pouch and awl case, which belonged to her husband's great-grandfather from Denton, Texas. The appraiser noted that the exceptionally beautiful pieces were made from different materials. The main part was made of leather traded by the Kiowa.
Is Kiowa Indian.
Kiowa?
This is the Kiowa. This is a tribe from the Central Plains, just north of the Texas area in Indian Territory.
While the fringe was crafted from deer hide adorned with European beads and tin salvaged from cans. The appraiser explained the purpose of the pouches, the larger one for fire-making implements and the smaller one for a woman's awl case used in clothing and moccasin making. It was rare to find both pouches together with matching design elements, indicating they originated together in the 1870s. They admired the Kiowa women's skills in design, color, and intricate detailing. Due to their special nature and excellent condition, the suggested value was,
on a retail market, a collector, I believe, would be very happy to pay about $9,500 for this ensemble.
Yeah.
Our guest explains they acquired most of the hair combs from antique shows in Atlanta over 25 years. The appraiser examines the collection, starting with a hat pin from the 1860s.
And it's from the 1860s. It's the robin's egg blue beads, which were so popular. That was the most popular color at that time.
Next, a French comb from around 1880, gold-filled with French enamel work and mother-of-pearl, is showcased. Moving to 1900, a comb made to resemble tortoiseshell but crafted from a form of celluloid styled in a Spanish colonial motif is highlighted. A geisha girl hairpin, likely from the 1920s and Japanese in origin, originally part of a pair, is shown. Finally, hairpins from the 1920s in rose gold and regular gold, marking the end of the popularity of such combs as women began wearing their hair in bobs. The appraiser estimates the entire collection valued at around
It would sell for about $2,000.
Oh my
Hair
God.
combs.
It's not every day you see an expert furniture maker give a seal of approval to an item that's not exclusively considered furniture. But Charles Limbert, a famed furniture maker at his time, gave his seal of approval to this lamp.
Supposedly, it was second to Stickley, but that's what I found on the internet. And I know he's made a lot of electric lamps, but I didn't know that until after I bought the lamp. And I know the oil lamp.
These oil lamps were devices used during the 20th century as a source of light, unlike the usual light bulbs we use nowadays. As the name suggests, these lamps used oil as a fuel source, and at the time, even though they were useful, they had their risk due to their oil fuel source, which is considered flammable. We can see a paper label which holds Limbert's signature and represents his seal of approval. Being a piece that's not considered furniture to many, and the fact that it was signed and given a seal of approval by one of the best furniture makers at the time, this oil lamp auctions at
probably therefore made in Grand Rapids. Now, you wouldn't necessarily say he was second to Stickley, but certainly one of the top 5 arts and crafts producers and manufacturers. So I'm going to give you a conservative auction estimate. So if it was listed in an auction today, we would think that you would see it somewhere between a $2,500 and a $3,500 estimate.
Wow, that's fantastic. Wow, that's fantastic. It just makes me feel good about that. I know what I'm doing a little bit better now than I did before.
The guest presented this beautiful 19th century album of photographs. These pieces she purchased from her neighbor tie into the golden age of travel photography.
A number of European photographers went to Japan and opened photographic studios.
When we look at the photographic prints, there's an image taken in Yokohama, which has an English caption and inventory number. Another image shows geishas regarded as artists picking shells.
It's a posed image. It's an image that's meant for tourist consumption.
The hand-tinted process added depth, texture, and vibrancy to the photos, transforming them into a clear and captivating work of art. It's noteworthy that these hand-tinted pieces are highly valued for their artistic merit and historical significance, and they would easily sell for...
Would be valued in the $700 to $1,000 range.
Wow, great. That's wonderful.
Passed down to her by her husband's ancestral lineage, today's guest gives us a deep dive into America's early folk art.
Really through accident, because that big family had no heirs. His mother became the sole heir, and she gave me all these lovely things. And my little boy with the horn was one of them. It's just terrific. Thank you.
This particular art or painting was attributed to an artist called William Matthew Pryor, who was an artist that was well versed in paintings of children. This one, being no different, features a boy, and it was drawn in the 19th century. For a painting that features a young boy, it's very well detailed, and it highlights the boy's outfit, the chair, and also the horn he is carrying.
Chair that he's sitting on also adds not only a great dimension to the piece.
William is regarded by many folk art critics as one of the best at children's folk art, and so this painting is sure to fetch a price of,
I would estimate him between $15,000 and $25,000.
Well, wow.
Good boy.
Yeah, I think I'll adopt you for good.
This dress belonged to Olga Turba, who was a renowned belly dancer and the guest mother.
So they traveled the world, and my mother belly danced for the Prince of Monaco and all over the world, and she was an operatrice.
She released several albums and authored many books, leaving behind a legacy as an extraordinary dancer who expressed herself deeply through her art. This dress was a classic custom belly dancing costume worn by Olga Turba in 1970, along with photos documenting her career. The costume was simply magical, consisting of a choker, blouse, bottom piece, and one of the wrist pieces. The detailing on the dress was mesmerizing and a pure delight to the eyes. For this beautiful artistic piece, the appraiser undoubtedly suggested that
this is one of the most beautiful ones. They would cost $3,000 to replace. That would be your insurance, for a total of $18,000 for what you've just brought today.
Our guest found this painting in an alley in Rogers Park about 15 years ago. The artist is J. Lynch, known for his work in Mad Magazine, the Chicago Reader, and the Garbage Pail Kids. This painting was done as an assignment for Lynch's classes at the Art Institute of Chicago in 1965 or 1966. The painting features the text, "I like acid," which Lynch confirmed he painted before acid became illegal. The painting is based on a political campaign poster from the 1960s for Woods for Sheriff. While Lynch's work is typically found in comic and illustration art auctions,
This is a little bit different. This is something he did not as a commercial piece. It's taken from a political campaign poster in the 60s.
despite some condition issues, such as punctures and tears, a conservative auction estimate for this painting is,
I would put a conservative auction estimate on this of $5,000 to $7,000.
Our guest grandfather was a prospector who went to the Klondike to prospect for gold in 1898. The photograph shows his mine, titled the Needmore Mining Company. In 1896, gold was discovered in Alaska, and by 1897, prospectors.
So all these guys were coming up from California and Wyoming and up through Seattle, and they were making their fortunes. There were some major money makers up there.
This gold poke is a leather bag used to hold gold dust and nuggets while prospecting. The gold nugget in the poke weighs almost 9 grams and is embedded with a quartz crystal, with a Montana sapphire set by the guest. The guest brought a book of photographs, with one page marked, "The Flood at Dawson, June 1898. These photographs in the book are copies and have relatively little value. The gold poke is worth around,
It's worth maybe $65, $70. Really?
This book is valued at about,
The book is worth about $1,500.
the gold nugget is estimated to be worth about,
This nugget, on a good retail level, is worth about $4,000.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Our guest inherited the Vienna Bronzes from their late husband's parents. The appraiser explains that Vienna Bronzes were made in Vienna around 1900. One of the bronzes is signed with an F and a B for Franz Bergmann. These bronzes are cold painted, meaning they have an oil-painted finish instead of the usual patina applied with heat and chemicals. The appraiser notes that in the last 20 years, Vienna Bronzes have become very desirable as collectibles. The least expensive ones, the simplest ones, are worth between $150 and $200 apiece on average. The appraiser estimates the group of 24 bronzes to be worth between,
we're talking about between $3,600 and $4,800.
My goodness.
Initially considering as a potential pasta bowl, the guest, upon acquiring this piece, realized its size wasn't quite right for that purpose. She acquired it at a local thrift store, guided by her Italian family's love for pasta, for a mere $3.75. Upon examining the bowl, its true identity is a beautiful English porcelain fruit bowl dating back to 1830. Together with its historical significance and well-preserved condition, this bowl is valued at auction for...
You'd probably be lucky to get more than $100 or $150 for it.
Purchased for just $65, this vase's emerald green hue and intricate design captivated the guest who bought it at a local antique store years ago. The guest's initial research indicated the vase might be a Fenton creation from the late 1890s.
Fenton is a glass company rather than a porcelain company.
But this isn't exactly right. While the vase did feature the word Belleek, a designation for a specific porcelain body type first created in Ireland, the inscription beneath it denoted Trenton, New Jersey, rather than Fenton, as the guest had previously believed. This detail, coupled with the superimposed letters O and B, pointed to the vase's true origin, the Ott and Brewer Company, a trailblazing American porcelain manufacturer. Founded in the mid-1800s, the Ott and Brewer Company was one of the first American companies to successfully produce high-quality porcelain. The vase, estimated to have been crafted in the late 1870s or early 1880s during the company's peak period, embodied their mastery of the craft. The vase's design elements, the raised hand-painted birds with an oriental flair, the charming landscape scene depicted on the lower portion, and the delicate dolphin-shaped handles, all contributed to its aesthetic value. American Belleek, a near eggshell-thin porcelain developed by Irish immigrants specifically for the Ott and Brewer Company, added another layer of value to the price. The fact that one of the company's early art directors, Lennox, eventually went on to found the renowned Lennox Company, solidified the vase's historical significance. Taking into account the vase's exceptional quality, its historical significance, and as an American Belleek piece by the Ott and Brewer Company, its value at auction is...
At auction would sell for between $15,000 and $20,000.
You are kidding me. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Let's delve into the surprising world of My Little Pony collectibles, specifically those from the first generation produced between 1982 and 1992. These seemingly innocent children's toys hold a hidden potential to become valuable acquisitions for collectors. The initial bulkier design launched in the 1980s failed to resonate with children. However, a revamped, smaller version captured hearts and imaginations, solidifying My Little Pony's place in pop culture history. A key factor influencing a My Little Pony collectible's value is its condition. Pristine ponies can fetch high prices, ranging in the hundreds or even exceeding £1,000. Rarity is another crucial element, just like this particular variant of Princess Sapphire, the blue pony. Due to its limited production, this figure recently sold for a staggering
between £1,000 and £1,500.
The collection here is estimated to have a remarkable value of
around £30,000.
But that's not unusual with so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having us, Mark.
This box is linked to Robert Burns, a renowned Scottish poet known worldwide. Box is connected to one of Burns's most famous poems, Tam O'Shanter. It was purchased by the owner's parents 50 years ago for £20. It's made of wood from the old kirk in Alloway, which was Burns's home territory.
And pieces of the church were sold off as souvenirs. And that's what you've got here.
Burns memorabilia are collected globally. A plaque on the box indicates that it was made in 1844. It was likely presented during the festival in Ayr to Burns. Inside the box, there's a quote from Tam O'Shanter reflecting on the fleeting nature of time.
Or as the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever.
Box is hallmarked in Glasgow by Muirhead and Arthur. Despite being bought for £20, its value today is around...
Bearing in mind what I've said about Burns collectors throughout the world, who would be very keen to own this box, could easily go up to £5,000–6,000.
We have an interesting traditional ritual cup, such as the one presented on the show today by this guest. She received it from her husband, who is an antique collector. Originating from the northern coast of Peru, this cup is called Quero, from the Chimu culture.
This is called a Quero, K-E-R-O, or Q-E-R-O, and is from the northern coast of Peru, and the culture is Chimu.
It's intriguing to know that this is an authentic piece of history, dating back to around 1100 AD and 1470 AD. Another interesting thing about this cup is that it has symmetric-looking eyes, nose, and face generally. However, there is visibility of an irregular surface on its side, which is a sign of wear in the piece. This is a cup made from silver alloy and was crafted through a process called repoussé, which involves hammering metal to a desirable form. Finding a piece this old and also in such good condition isn't common. This places its value at auction to be around
good auction or in a retail situation would sell between $3,000 and $5,000.
No way. Oh my goodness.
This Grodnerdl carved wooden doll were popular collectibles and toys during the 19th century. While browsing online, the guest found an antique doll she loved and won the bid at $500. This doll, intricately carved from wood in Grodnerdl, is known as tuck comb doll.
But to find a doll of this period is even more amazing.
Named after the small comb adorning its hair. This doll dated around 1820. It's crafted in diverse sizes and styles. This doll ranged from humble peasant figures to opulent aristocrats. The style, characterized by a high waist, is commonly referred to as the Empire style of clothing. That period dictates the tall silhouette of the doll and its body. Typically standing around 8 to 12 inches tall,
you'll see all the curls and all the detail that go around the top of the head. And collectors like to see many curls and many waves, and yours certainly has all of those.
It is also a piece of art and a window into the rich cultural heritage. The wooden doll's timeless charm is valued by the appraiser.
Probably in a retail setting on today's market, we're looking at $4,000 to $5,000.
Wow.
Our guest presents a painted blanket chest, describing it as a lift top and false grained. The appraiser identifies the chest as likely from northern New England, painted to resemble mahogany or another exotic wood, common for rural cabinets.
In about 1820 when we think this is made.
Okay.
It is a lift-top, 2-drawer blanket chest.
Despite being made of poplar, which tends to shrink and crack, the paint has survived well, with the top showing the least wear. This chest features smoke-decorated drawer fronts, where white paint was scorched with an open flame to create a wispy black pattern. If auctioned, this wonderful blanket chest could be estimated at...
If this were to come to auction, it would be estimated in the $800 to $1,200 range.
Our guest presents a collection of favors from the Rex Carnival organization in New Orleans, dating from 1907 to 1911, which belonged to their father, a former member. The appraiser explains that these favors were given to ladies at dances as call-outs, often sent before the event as invitations. Despite being made in large quantities, the items are in excellent condition, with letter openers valued at...
But something like the letter openers, especially in this condition, sell for about $100, $150 each.
And inkwells and boxes valued at...
The inkwells in the box sell for between about $250 and $300.
The appraiser highlights the significance of the doubloon, a coin thrown from parade floats, noting the signed example from H. Alvin Sharp could be worth around...
And so probably has a value of about $100.
Our guest presents a cash register believed to be from the children's book One Morning in Maine by Robert McCloskey, purchased from an antique store in Ellworth, Maine. The cash register, a national cash register from around 1900.
Condon's General Store, where a cash register like this is pictured in the book. The Condon family had recently gotten rid of quite a few items from their house, and their store had closed.
Appraiser verifies the authenticity of the cash register through its serial number, confirming it to be a national cash register. Although the cash register is not definitely linked to Condon's General Store, its historical significance to the area makes it a valuable piece, estimated at...
That's about right. $1,000, $1,200. But I want to
I was convinced that it was worth $35.
Our guest also acquired a sign from the same era and location, possibly from the General Store, adding to the historical value of the collection. The appraiser notes that items related to McCloskey, such as the first edition of Make Way for Ducklings, can fetch up to $600 at auction. Our guest presents a ceremonial sword and a certificate naming their great-great-grandfather at consul to Bavaria, given to him in 1856 by the Philadelphia Artillery Brigade in the Pennsylvania Militia. The sword, made by the Ames Manufacturing Company in Chicopee, Massachusetts, features intricate silver handle designs with eagles on the crossguard and pommel cap.
This is pretty much the pinnacle of an Ames sword.
Certificate, dated 1861 and signed by prominent figures including Simon Cameron, Lincoln's first Secretary of War, appoints him as consul to His Majesty, the King of Bavaria. The historical significance of the sword and certificate, along with their pristine condition, values the sword at...
I'd insure it for $15,000.
And at auction, this certificate could fetch conservatively at...
For around $5,000. Okay, that's good to know. Fantastic piece.
This item is called a tomahawk. It is used for cutting, combat, and a variety of other purposes. This item was presented on the show by the guest, who acquired the piece at a garage sale.
Most of the ones that are real are a little simpler.
Although this piece is a replica of the original, it has more intriguing elements, such as fur, animal teeth, and horsehair. Additionally, there is a tape wrapped around the handle, which gives the impression that this item was sold as a decorative piece. A piece like this, in pristine condition, and closer to the original tomahawk with its level of exquisiteness, would easily sell at auction for...
They still have value. I've seen doctors and lawyers pay as much as $150 to $250 on these pieces that are framed like that. So how's that for your $10?
Good.
In the mid-19th century, a group of poets emerged in New England whose words would warm the hearts of a nation. Interestingly, Henry Wadsworth was among this group of poets. He was a renowned American poet known for his lyrical and narrative poems. His work often explored themes of love, spirituality, and the human experience.
Photograph of the famous author and poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
This piece, which originally belonged to the guest's grandmother, has a photograph of Henry attached to it. Alongside is a quill pen that belonged to him and a letter written by Henry's daughter, Alice.
It's nice to have the pen, nice to have the photograph, and this letter supports the provenance perfectly well.
Today, an autographed manuscript quotation is highly sought after, and this letter supports the provenance perfectly well. A piece of such caliber would fetch...
An auction estimate on this package would be in the region of $500 to $1,000.
That's terrific.
This document, discovered by the guest father, is furniture stored in their great-great-grandfather's dry goods store, featuring a bold and clear signature of Benjamin Franklin. Dated 1787 during the 11th year of the Commonwealth, it's a land deed signed by Franklin, indicating his role in granting land during that period. Given Franklin's prolific signing of such documents, this particular deed is estimated to be valued between...
An auction estimate, this is probably a $5,000 to $10,000 document.
Oh my God.
Representing a significant historical artifact. What we have here is a clone of a Wedgewood-style jug.
This is a great name in English pottery making, but it's not Wedgewood because it's such a great name.
Wedgewood is a famous English pottery company known for its high-quality ceramics. The company's style often features classical motifs, intricate designs, and a distinctive blue and white color palette.
The name a little bit. Yeah, and this, you see, is Wedgewood and Company. A little subtle and company in there.
What's interesting about this piece is that it embodies the essence of English elegance and craftsmanship typical of Wedgewood style. It has intricate patterns inspired by classical art and nature. Also, the signature blue and white color palette, a hallmark of Wedgewood design, can be seen. Even though this piece is not an original Wedgewood-style jug, the real question is how much this rare piece sells for. The guest presented a family heirloom, which he received from his stepfather's mother.
I came to this country and was employed as a domestic for some of the wealthy families in Duluth, Minnesota during the 1920s.
This piece was given to her as a token for years of faithful service. Made in Austria around 1910, this Vienna Bronze is a small and intricately detailed metal artwork. The plaque was made using the cold painted technique, where the bronze was painted with enamel-like colors that were then baked on. The style of this piece reflects the artistic trends of the early 20th century, which included elements of Art Nouveau and early Art Deco. This piece of stunning high class and social value is a great addition to a collection and is valued at...
I would put an auction estimate between $6,000 and $8,000.
My goodness. You're kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Very rare, very desirable.
Well, that's impressive.
The guest presented a weird-looking vase, which was bought 15 years ago from a Dutch dealer for $580. This piece was identified as a modernist work by the renowned artist Jean Cocteau, known for his paintings, drawings, and poetry. The appraiser discussed the background of the artist's career. Inspired by Picasso's foray into ceramics, Cocteau began creating ceramic editions in the late 1950s. This particular piece, likely from the 1960s, showcased Cocteau's whimsical and unconventional style, and the horns on the vase are detachable, intentionally designed by Cocteau. The vase is labeled as an original edition from Jean Cocteau, Studio Madeleine Joly, numbered 6 out of 10. The guest expresses surprise and amusement at the high value of the vase.
Though it is an edition, easily we would put this in at $10,000 to $15,000. Sorry. That's fun for an ugly vase. Perfect. Wonderful.
Papers take on new significance when they bear someone's signature. A person looking at an old picture gets interested. It's a photo of the guest's grandmother, Marguerite, taken by a famous artist named Man Ray in 1929. The guest explains how the picture was passed down through their family. The expert talks about Man Ray, saying he was part of art groups in Paris in the 1920s. They point out cool things about the photo, like how Marguerite's eyes are closed and her hair looks like it's floating. They also mention a special book with the photo in it, where the picture is turned upside down. The book, named Photographs by Man Ray, 1920 Paris, 1934, has an unusual upside-down layout. It's common to find the cover falling off because of its poorly made plastic spiral spine. While examining the condition of the item, the appraiser said,
an estimate to have this work conserved would be anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. I would have it conserved, and then if you were ever to offer it at auction, I would estimate the work at $25,000 to $35,000.
Whoa.
The guest family heirloom included a painting acquired from her grandmother. Originally, the beautiful piece belonged to her great-grandmother, who received it as a gift on her 25th anniversary. The landscape was painted by the renowned American artist Charles Curran. The appraiser shared the background details about the artist's early life and career. The painting, titled Across the Valley, featured silver birches and held sentimental value for the guest family. The artist's name and an inventory number could be seen on the back, confirming its authentication. Additionally, the painting was an oil canvas and was in pristine condition. Without knowledge of the original purchase price, the appraiser suggested a market value of...
In today's market, 2014 at auction, this painting has a value of $12,000 to $18,000.
Wow. Wow. Well, what would be the insurance value?
You would probably want to insure it for about $35,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
A collection of old dolls was presented at the show, which belonged to the guest mother. Acquired in the 1930s and early 1940s, the dolls were purchased from Mrs. Isolde Dorjan in Philadelphia. The guest mother believed the dolls were from the court of Marie Antoinette and were used as marionettes or puppets by court members to gossip after dinner. The biologically complete dolls were actually created in the early 20th century by a man named Delamain. These dolls were considered folk art and were made from high-quality materials, including 18th century silk. The appraiser admired the beautifully constructed dolls, which were shown in a Paris exhibition in 1921 and the 1930s. The current market value for this particular pair was estimated to be...
Today's market, they've gone down a little bit in price. I've seen them sell as high as $30,000. Probably on today's market, this particular pair by Delamon, probably in the $15,000 to $25,000 range.
Passed down to him by his father, today's guest features a student watch. But unlike most watches, this one isn't like any other, as it was a creation of the Elgin Watchmakers College. The Elgin Watchmakers College was a famous watch manufacturing institution in the United States.
The largest I've seen is 38 by 40, and sometimes you work as small as 12 by 12.
And the guest father was a direct product of the college. The watch is likely made from silver material, as we can see the white shine which is pertinent to silver. We also have the design plans for the watch. And at the time, attention to detail was very important, as watches were handcrafted. For a watch that was made in 1924, the movements were sophisticated and expertly crafted. This feature is going to increase the value of the watch, and at auctions at the hefty price of...
At auction, I feel very comfortable with an estimate of 120 to 180,000. And I could actually 120 to 180,000.
Oh my goodness!
The guest brought a collection belonging to his grandfather, who was a mechanic alongside an ace pilot during World War I. The airplane crashed, and the insignia from the aircraft was given to the guest's grandfather as a token of gratitude. The appraiser examined the item and provided insights on its historical significance.
The ace that had crashed the airplane, and the ace gave my grandfather, who was the mechanic on the airplane.
The insignia was likely one of two identical pieces that adorned the aircraft's sides. The guest also brought pictures of the aircraft and her grandfather, but the appraiser couldn't identify the specific squadron involved in the incident. Despite this, the historical significance of the item remains intact. The guest expressed their sentimentality towards the item, stating that it would never be sold.
If you were to insure this today, you would need to put an insurance value on this item for $10,000 to $12,000.
Wow, we'll never sell it. It'll never be for sale, ever.
Flags aren't just fabric. They're symbols full of meaning. The guest came up with a family's old thing, once believed to be a flag. Turned out to be a fancy scarf from the late 1800s. This scarf wasn't about women's rights, but celebrated voting rights for everyone. It belonged to a Belgian family who moved to the U.S. in 1919, looking for freedom and the right to vote. The frame, made in tramp art style, is really cool. They use thin pieces of wood and stack them up, making it look like it's popping out in 3D. The scarf was kept in a special frame made from cigar boxes, showing off its neat craftsmanship. This discovery showed how special and important family treasures can be. While examining the condition of the scarf, the appraiser said,
"At a good show in New York, in a really good dealer's booth, I could see that frame being priced at $15,000.
Really? Wow.
Now, let's talk about the scarf. That, to me, lends a whole different characteristic to it and probably increases the value by another $2,000 or $3,000. Put your grandfather's picture back in there, I'd say you would want an insurance value of around $18,000.
Very nice.